Namaste, we are in International Yoga Festival with Laura Plum. Namaste, Laura.
Namaste.
Let us know about yourself a little bit.
That's a big question. Well, I guess I could say that I live in California. I've been practicing yoga now for about 30 years. I've also been practicing and teaching Ayurveda and Jyotish, so I'm very dedicated to the Vedic sciences and very delighted always to come here since 2008 for the International Yoga Festival and to spend time in Rishikesh in these beautiful mountains along this gorgeous river, the great Ganges. And that's something. That's a bit.
And how the Ayurveda, yoga, and Jyotish, it's called astrology in Vedic astrology comes in a life.
How do they come in life? How do they come together?
Yeah.
Well, I like to say that yoga reminds us of our true nature. Ayurveda reminds us that we are nature. And Jyotish reminds us that we are the cosmos. And all of which, Ayurveda and Jyotish being Upa-Vedas, they're supporting sciences, supporting the Prime Veda, which is yoga, or the science of self-realization. So all are helpful in helping us live a true life, an authentic life, a life of heart, a life where we can be of love and service to the world, hopefully. And all of it helps us remember in a world that's always drawing us away, distracting us. It helps us remember who we are and to have the greater capacity to live a more sacred and sumptuous life because of what's inside of us rather than searching for it outside of us.
And what is Ayurveda for to share the Ayurveda?
Well, Ayurveda is a really great and vast science. First, it's to me the genius. It's a genius science of healing and wellness. It's vast, it's complex, it has many aspects to it, so I don't want to diminish it when I say that to me the great experience of Ayurveda for myself and others is ultimately and primarily to cultivate that sacred relationship with life itself. And I think for so many of us who live a more modern or westernized life, we've been cut off, we've been disconnected from nature, from our own nature and from nature around us. And I feel like many of us are really longing for that belonging, to belong again to nature, to wholeness, to life itself. And to me, Ayurveda is the invitation back into that relationship, invitation really into a conversation with all of life, with life that wants to support us, and with the capacity we have to live a really radiant, healthy, vibrant life.
And would you like to share the one trigger incident in your life that you accept the Ayurveda and Jyotish, it's called astrology or Vedic astrology, you think that you should learn and share with the movement in a life?
Well, it's a trigger for each one. So with yoga, the trigger was that I was living in London. I'm from Chicago, the United States, and I was living far from home, and I went through a painful experience that ultimately led to a divorce. I mean, it was very, very painful. And yoga was a place where I found refuge. I found refuge on the mat. I found my heart again on the mat, and it really helped me to find strength to continue my life and to go on and to make the changes that needed to be made. I found a lot of peace through that period, really thanks to yoga entirely. Much later in my life, actually more recently, I had another real heartbreak, and it was Swamiji, listening to him chant and chanting along with him. So my yoga became just chanting at that point because, well, I was still doing the asana and other things, but mostly I was chanting, and that was very soothing to the heart. So yoga has really helped take me from pieces back to wholeness a couple times in my life. Ayurveda, because as I said, I feel this longing for a deeper connection with nature and with our mother. So Ayurveda has really for me been that sense that our mother loves us and allowing her to love us to help us be strong and healthy. And with Jyotish, it was a teacher of mine who told me about it. And I had a moment of just like my eyes just popping open, like, wow, The Vedas are extraordinary. The science that comes out of the Himalayas, that comes out of this place. Thank you to all the people of India for being the treasure keepers, for keeping this wisdom alive, so that more people could come to it and drink from it, so to speak, because we get so much life from it. So Jyotish for me was just going from living an ordinary existence to actually understanding why we have karma and what is our dharma. It's very, very powerful for helping us really live in a more radiant way.
So, would you like to share about your teachers, how you met in India, and then you start learning these subjects? So you learn the yoga in US, or you learn yoga, Ayurveda, astrology in India?
Both. I first learned in England with TKV Desikachar. So I learned from an Indian teacher, but I was in London, living in London at the time. And he used to come to London often and give 10-day trainings, so to speak. So I learned a lot from him. And he's truly a great teacher. So pranams to him. He's the son of Krishnamacharya, so it's that lineage. And then I moved to the States, and I had more teachers in America, great teachers, who were in the lineage of Swami Rama and the Himalayan tradition. And also Dr. David Frawley was one of my great teachers, really terrific teacher. I came with him to India in 2008. And I came first to a conference called Ayurveda and Consciousness here at Parmarth. And it was a great conference because there were Ayurvedic doctors from around India, but they were really focused on how this is a consciousness-based science. And we had 10 days of learning with all of these doctors, and it was very eye-opening, mind-opening, heart-opening, because in that moment I realized that the Indian mind is very open and broad. The Indian mind can both be a molecular biologist, an organic chemist, and at the same time, they were wearing the stones, the gems of Jyotish. In America, we tend to be either scientific or intuitive, not both. And I could see here that people had the capacity to have such a broad mind, almost a cosmic mind, and that they could hold many truths, factual truth and intuitive truth simultaneously. I was very, very, I would say even excited about that. So I've been coming back to India ever since. I come back every year to Rishikesh for this international festival, which we also came to with Dr. Frawley that first year. And now I've been going to Kerala or the South India in the autumn also every year. So I continue to learn from teachers here. Swamiji, Puja Swamiji at Parmarth, is a great inspiration to me. Anandamoy Ma is a great inspiration to me. Paramahansa Yogananda is a great inspiration to me. So many, many teachers, and many Ayurvedic teachers too from the south.
In North India, have you found any Ayurveda teacher, or in only South India you found the Ayurveda teacher?
There are some great teachers and great practitioners here, but my teachers are mostly from the south. So, but it's not to say there aren't great ones here. There are, of course. Yeah, of course. There's great places. In fact, I'm going up to a place soon. I don't know if you want me to name names. Dr. Moria, who's here at Parmarth, is fabulous. He's a great teacher and a great doctor.
He's a good friend of mine.
He's wonderful. I really admire him. Great man. Great Ayurvedic doctor. Veda 5 has a great doctor. I like going to Veda 5.
And how about the journey of astrology?
Right.
Yeah, so what is this mystic journey, and what you found when you first heard about the astrology, and then you go deep inside this subject and this, because my grandfather was an astrologer too.
Lucky, fortunate for you that you have that in you, in your DNA, from your grandfather. Well, you said it, it's a mystic journey. It's a journey that continues and keeps growing and deepening. But how amazing to think that the stars hold the blueprint of your life, like the manual. Like we're born with no manual. How do we know how to live? How do we know how to be a great human being? And in Jyotish, we really have a manual for living. We have a blueprint of our destiny. And we have an understanding, as I said, of our karma. So why do we have certain challenges? And what are the challenges wanting us to learn and grow from? How do they want us to become better? And how does it want us to evolve? So the karma that we see that we can see in the chart, we're seeing that it's actually there to help us evolve and grow. And then when you learn that, you embrace it. And then you willingly say yes to your challenges because, oh yes, there's another opportunity for me to grow and evolve and become a better human being. It also points to your dharma. It says so much about who you are. In a world where so many of us go to school where there's 20, 30, 50 people in a classroom and everything's standardized, this is about saying, no, you're unique. And here's what's unique about you. And it helps you really embrace the truth of who you are, for better, for worse. And live in that way with more acceptance, more self-love, more self-compassion, and more strength. I mean, imagine that the stars can tell you who you are. Imagine you could learn from the sparkling light in the sky above that you too are that. You are the pattern of light and energy come alive. It's extraordinary.
So how do you find that, you speaking about the blueprints in astrology, so how do you find the blueprint? So what are these blueprints to the navigation point for the person who you're doing the astrological journey?
Well, you're looking at the time of their birth, the date of their birth, the place of their birth, and according to that, from where they were born at that specific time and space, we look at the sky, so it's the vantage point of the Earth, from the Earth looking at the sky from where they were on the Earth, and then where the planets were in the stars, in that specific area of the space of the sky, and what that does is that creates a pattern of light and energy. So planets bounce light, and the stars, of course, are light. And so when a person is born, you could say they are the coming alive of that pattern of light and energy that was created in that specific moment of time. Another way I like to look at it is it's almost like that pattern of light and energy is a portal that opens, and it's just the right one for their soul to enter in to this life, to come alive. But you are the coming alive of the planets. And in each chart, there's certain planets that are strong, some that are not so strong. But we want to look at what are the planets that are strong, because you're bringing that energy to the world. So if the sun is strong in your chart, you're a very sunny, bright, positive person with great vision, great leadership. If the moon is strong, then you're a person who's really loving, really kind, really gentle, very mothering, right? If Mercury is very strong in your chart, you're a great communicator. You might be a journalist. If you're, etc. If Venus is very strong, you might love arts, beauty, relationship. You're good at bringing people together. Like that.
And that's in Indian culture or the Indian astrological way, we believe that there is a reincarnation. So in America, the people believe in reincarnation or not?
I think that more and more people in America would describe themselves as spiritual rather than religious. So more and more they're moving away from some of the laws of religion and more into an intuitive experience of what it means to be connected to spirit. And there I think more and more people come to a nuanced, subtle, intuitive experience of reincarnation. Obviously, we see that in anything in nature, the grass dies back and then it regrows. The trees lose their leaves, but then in the spring the leaves come back. So we see in nature that regrowth, that rebirth, that regeneration, and we know it to be true. Why wouldn't it be true with us? We know from science that there's only a fixed amount of energy. So when some energy body dies, another, it has to come somewhere else. It's not infinite. We have a fixed energy. So energy has to continue to recreate and regenerate in different ways. Certainly, I think more and more people believe in that. Whether people believe directly that each life, each consciousness, I think it's more subtle than that.
Because I read about it, that's in our Veda. Veda says every human being remember their 100 life. 100 life in one birth. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, in one very factual, scientific way, you can say that, through the DNA you have 100 lives in you. You have your grandfather in you. And all that your grandfather did until he gave birth to your father or your mother gets passed along. And so certainly we have 100 lives in us, which is why some cultures really worship their ancestors, because they know that is in them, that spirit is in them. I do believe that we reincarnate. I do believe that there's an energy, there's a consciousness that comes back. I do believe that that moment in time is the time for your soul to be born, because that's the exact way your soul needs to be born in order for it to evolve forward. And that's why we're alive, to, as Sri Aurobindo said, to creatively and consciously contribute to the creative and conscious evolution of consciousness.
Somebody don't know the time of birth. So how will you, if we look about the astrology, you says we calculated a date, time and birth.